In our headlines on this Friday, May 16th, here in South Korea. We are now counting down 18 days to the presidential election, and contenders remain active on the campaign trail as they also prepare to face each other on Sunday for their first debate to be broadcast live at 8 in the evening. Meanwhile, trade envoys representing the 21 economies under the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation Forum highlight the importance of cooperation in response to trade challenges to ensure broader economic stability. And over in neighboring Japan, Osaka is hosting the latest World Expo, where ideas, innovations and inventions aimed at sustainable growth are being showcased with the focus on the Korea Pavilion this week. We start yet again with the latest on the campaign trail, and for this our political correspondent Shin Ha-young joins me live on the line. Ha-young, it's great to have you back. Let's begin with the Liberal camp. What's the latest there?
Well, Democratic Party candidate Lee Jae-myung, who began rallying support in his party's strongholds yesterday, is continuing his campaign in them today, this time in Jeollabuk-do province. His campaign trail today takes him through the cities of Iksan, Gunsan, Jeonju, and Jeongeuk. And during his visit to Iksan, Lee emphasized balanced regional growth, noting that Jeollabuk-do has been especially overlooked. Take a listen.
If the current concentration in the capital region continues, the country won't be able to grow sustainably. Balanced regional growth isn't just about helping local regions, it's a necessary strategy for South Korea's future.
He also addressed the overconcentration of universities in the capital and the need to strengthen local universities in other regions. He said he would increase support for national universities outside of Seoul and promised to improve conditions for young people through better education, cultural opportunities, and jobs so they don't feel the need to leave their provinces. Meanwhile, lawmaker Kim Sang-wook, who was in favor of former President Yoon Suk-yeol's impeachment and recently broke away from the People Power Party, showed up at Lee's campaign to support him. Kim described Lee as both a true conservative and a true progressive, saying that those who divide politics into sides shouldn't be involved in politics.
I see. And now, Ha-young, what's the latest at the Conservative camp? I hear its candidates started the day in Gyeonggi-do province before heading to the Chungcheong-do region.
Sunny, that's right. Kim Moon-soo has moved southward from the capital region. His rallies in the Gyeonggi-do region in the morning were significant in that he was a two-term governor for the province and touts himself as being the person who started the GTX high-speed underground train system in the capital region. In fact, as he visited Dongtan City, he pledged to improve transportation even more, this time for cars.
When you build a new city, because initially there are no jobs, everyone goes to Seoul for work. There is no way to get there. The Gyeongbu Expressway actually becomes the Gyeongbu parking lot.
He pledged to construct 6 new beltways around the capital region. On top of this, the campaign revealed its pledge to expand the GTX lines, saying the lines currently being constructed will have additional stops built, and they will build similar models around the country for major metropolitan areas. And now he's currently in the Chungcheong-do region, rallying support there as well. And one major stop was Sejong City, and he pledged to finish this process of making Sejong the nation's administrative capital by sending the National Assembly there and having a second office for the president there too. That's all for now. Back to you, Sunny.
All right, Ha-young, thank you for now, and do keep us posted. Staying on the campaign trail, Reform Party candidate Ajun Sak was in the central city of Cheonan today to consolidate support from conservatives there. He claimed the main Conservative Party's candidate cannot challenge his Liberal counterpart and insisted his solid standing with young voters provides him with a strategic advantage. Meanwhile, earlier on this Friday, he also shared intentions to transform the southern port city of Busan into a global data hub with a strong legal framework in place against potential data breaches as feared by foreign firms. trade envoys from the APEC forum have highlighted the importance of continued cooperation in response to challenges to ensure broader economic stability. Our correspondent Ji files this report from the southern island of Jeju.
Top trade officials from Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation member states wrapped up their two-day meeting on Jeju Island on Friday, an event hosted by South Korea ahead of the APEC Leaders Summit later this year. South Korea's Minister for Trade, Sejong and Hangeul, who led the meeting, announced at a press conference that all 21 member nations have agreed on a joint statement, which includes adopting artificial intelligence into global trade and strengthening cooperation on supply chain issues.
South Korea proposed the idea of the AI for Trade initiative, in which other APEC member states showed great interest and support.
Member states agreed to continue cooperation on areas such as facilitating paperless trade, bridging digital divides, and creating strengthened digital infrastructure. In the joint statement, they also recognized the importance of the World Trade Organization as they share concerns on global trade risks. Meanwhile, much attention was drawn to a separate meeting between South Korea's Minister of Trade, Industry and Energy, An Deok-gun, and U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer. The two officials last met in Washington 3 weeks ago when South Korea requested exemptions from reciprocal tariffs while offering cooperation on shipbuilding and energy. Both countries are currently working to produce a package of deals to remove new U.S. tariffs before the July 8th deadline, when the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs is lifted. So eyes are now on whether South Korea and the U.S. will be able to make further progress following Friday's talks. Ji, Arirang News, Jeju.
Meanwhile, Korea's finance ministry has maintained its concerns over the presence of economic headwinds at home and abroad and their broader impact on market growth. Our Park Junan has the latest.
The Ministry of Economy and Finance assessed that downside pressures on the economy are continuing to grow for the fifth consecutive month. This assessment comes in the ministry's Green Book, a monthly report detailing the nation's economic trends. The ministry said a recovery of domestic demand, particularly in consumption and construction investment, has remained sluggish, while employment difficulties persist, especially in vulnerable sectors. It also noted that the Korean economy has been facing increasing downside pressures, including a slowdown in exports due to worsening external conditions following the imposition of U.S. tariffs.
I think the tariff impact is there, and that's why we use the term export slowdown from April's data. We also saw some growth in exports to countries outside of the U.S., making the April export data less severe than the tariff effects might suggest.
South Korea saw a dramatic decrease in construction investment from over a year ago. Investment in the first quarter of 2025 saw a year-on-year decline of 12.2%. In April 2025, there were about 28.9 million people employed, an increase of 194,000 from the same period last year. However, year-on-year manufacturing sector employment was down 124,000 last month, the largest drop in 6 years and 2 months. Employment challenges also persisted among the 15 to 29-year-old age group. The unemployment rate for young people in April stayed at 7.3%, continuing in the 7% range since February. To combat the slowdown in exports and to boost the country's industrial competitiveness, the ministry pledged to swiftly execute the necessary supplementary budget. The budget of 13.8 trillion won, or about $9.9 billion, will be used to bolster the job market, construction, and support for small businesses. Park Junan, Arirang News.
Ukraine has cast doubt on Russia's sincerity for peace, pointing to the Kremlin's dispatch of a delegation that lacks decision makers for planned talks in Turkey. Kim Bo-kyung explains.
All eyes were fixed on the first direct peace talks between Russia and Ukraine in more than 3 years, which were supposed to take place on Thursday, but are now expected to happen on Friday in Istanbul. However, the negotiations failed to materialize amid criticism over the standard of the Russian delegation. Russian President Vladimir Putin was a noticeable absence on Moscow's list of attendees, despite proposing the talks and a challenge from Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to meet face-to-face. While making his announcement regarding the team headed by his defense minister to Istanbul for the peace talks, Zelensky criticized Moscow for not taking the negotiations seriously.
After we understood the level of the Russian delegation, we see that, unfortunately, they are not taking the real negotiations very seriously. So far, we do not see among those present anyone who actually makes decisions.
The sides have also been separated with regard to the outcomes they each want from the direct talks. While Ukraine's top priority is a ceasefire, the Russian delegation, led by Vladimir Medinsky, said their goal was to eliminate the basic root causes of the conflict and to sooner or later establish long-term peace. He added that these negotiations are a continuation of the peace process that fell through in 2022 when Ukraine saw Russian demands as a threat to its sovereignty. Regarding the meeting, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio on Thursday expressed limited optimism, saying Washington frankly does not have high expectations of the negotiations. Speaking to reporters in the southern Turkish city of Antalya, he said only the direct engagement between the U.S. and Russia could result in a breakthrough.
And frankly, at this point, I think it's abundantly clear that the only way we're going to have a breakthrough here is between President Trump and President Putin.
김보경, Arirang News.
And Mr. Trump has touted the idea of taking Gaza and turning it into a freedom zone, even as Israel maintains its military campaign against the region. Our Lee Sing-jae reports.
With ceasefire talks between Israel and Hamas stalled, the Israeli military conducted airstrikes on dozens of sites in Gaza from Wednesday night and into Thursday. The latest barrage of airstrikes killed at least 114 Gazans, with witnesses saying the Israeli military targeted medical facilities, including pediatric clinics. The airstrikes were also carried out as U.S. President Donald Trump was on his tour of the Middle East. Israel was excluded from his itinerary. However, Trump on Thursday doubled down on his proposal to displace Gazans, stressing again that the enclave should be made into a freedom zone. Speaking to reporters after a roundtable with business leaders in Qatar, Trump said that Gaza has been a territory of death and destruction for many years, adding that the U.S. should get involved and make it a freedom zone. All Arab states have rejected his plans, with Hamas calling it ethnic cleansing. Meanwhile, Israeli media reported that ceasefire talks mediated by the U.S. have not made any progress due to differences in opinion between Israel and Hamas. Lee Sing-jae, Arirang News.
In other news, the latest global showcase of ideas, innovations and inventions is underway in Osaka, Japan, and this week the spotlight is on South Korea. Our culture correspondent Song Jin was there.
Every 5 years, the world comes together for the World Expo, a global stage for ideas, innovation, and cultural exchanges. This is where revolutionary inventions like the elevator, telephone, and electric car were first introduced. Now, 55 years after hosting Asia's first ever World Expo, this global event has returned to Osaka, Japan. Each World Expo centers on a main theme. Expo 2025 Osaka Kansai is designing future society for our lives with 3 sub-themes: saving lives, empowering lives, and connecting lives. Among the more than 150 participating countries is South Korea, showcasing its culture, technology, and vision for tomorrow.
So this 3-story building you're seeing right now is the Korea Pavilion for the 2025 Osaka World Expo, open until October 13th.
The Korea Pavilion's theme, With Hearts, embodies a message of harmony and human connection.
We wanted to create a space that connects Korea with the world, the past with the present and future, blending tradition, culture, and cutting-edge technology.
Visitors to the Korea Pavilion go through 3 exhibition halls with up to 100 people allowed in at a time. At the entrance, guests are asked what they value most in life. Their responses are turned into music using AI and played in a room surrounded by synchronized lights, creating a symphony of shared values. In the next hall, you get to engage with green hydrogen technology. By blowing into a pipe, oxygen combines with hydrogen fuel cells to generate electricity visibly demonstrated through falling bubbles. The final space is an immersive three-sided cinema. Set in the year 2040, it follows a high school student using future tech to complete a musical score left by her grandfather in 2025.
It's been a month since we opened, and we're averaging 12,000 visitors per day. With a target of 1.2 million, we expect to surpass that easily. Among all the country pavilions, Korea's is consistently ranking among the most popular.
While pavilions will stay open throughout the expo, each country also has a dedicated national day to take the spotlight. South Korea marked May 13th as its National Day and launched a 5-day Korea Week. The celebration began with a recreation of the Choson Tongsinsa, diplomatic envoys who traveled to Japan centuries ago to build peace and take part in cultural exchanges. A hanbok fashion show followed, introducing traditional and modern Korean dresses inspired by spring flowers.
In both Korea and Japan, spring is the time to enjoy flowers. We thought, why not express that excitement through hanbok? I've felt a strong eco-friendly spirit here. Hanbok, too, is created with sustainability in mind. So there's a meaningful connection between our clothes and the values of this expo.
Korean singer K-Will performed in the K-Live concert, and the K-Beauty show introduced the latest trends and tips in makeup.
팔자 주름, 우리 많이 여성분들 많이 고민하시는 부위 있죠? 이 부분이랑 머리카락이 쉽게 닿는 부분, 이런 부분들은 좀 피니싱 파우더를 써서 좀 더 유지력 있게 고정을 해주시면.
And to further foster goodwill, the Culture Ministry and Korea Tourism Organization appointed Japanese actor Kentaro Sakaguchi as this year's honorary ambassador for Korea tourism.
At first, I wasn't sure I was the right person. But after working on Korean dramas and projects, I realized I might be able to contribute in my own way. Even with cultural or language differences, I'd be honored to serve as a bridge between our two countries.
Just like this, Expo 2025 Osaka Kansai is a stage where the international community can connect and shape a shared future. 송유진, Arirang News, Osaka.
Yesterday, that was May 15th, Korea marked Teachers' Day, and among the teachers celebrated was King Sejong, who created Hangeul. Our Choi Soo-young has details.
People press a seal engraved with Korean letters, Hangeul. They also try printing Hangeul, made up of consonants and vowels, by themselves. This is Hunmin Jeongum, the original Hangeul created in 1443.
We just came to look around, and then we just witnessed it, and we started to do Hangul, and it was really nice. Actually, it was so fun to do. I think if you once try it out, you can learn it easy. So she learned Korean for 3 months now. So and Hangul was really easy. Yeah, and it was easy for me. At least it was easy.
Born on May 15, 1397, King Sejong the Great is regarded as one of the greatest monarchs in Korean history. He made important contributions to Korean culture, including in science, the arts, and agriculture. Among his contributions is Hangeul, the Korean letters.
May 15th is National Teachers' Day. Last year, the government also designated as a day to celebrate the anniversary of the birth of King Sejong, the teacher of the Korean nation, and honor his achievements.
The first official celebration of the newly designated day was held at Gyeongbokgung Palace on Thursday. Many events were held to revive the significance of Hangeul's creation and his legacy. Modern Hangeul, made up of 24 letters, is easy to learn and has a unique design. As Korean culture spreads around the world, more people are interested in learning it.
Thanks to the global popularity of K content, Hangeul is gaining attention worldwide.
Its simple shapes and small number of characters make it easy to learn, so many people want to study it. But Hangul is more than just a writing system. Its unique design is also admired globally as a form of visual art.
More than 6 centuries since his birth, King Sejong's legacy spreads across the world through Hangul. Sejong, Arirang News.
On the K-pop front, BTS's Jin has just released his second solo album. Expo was released earlier on this Friday afternoon and includes 7 tracks in total. Now, Jin spoke about his mini-album about a month ago, saying it shares a musician's view of universal life experiences. Expo follows last November's release of his debut solo, Happy, which hit number 4 on the Billboard 200 chart. Friday's album release comes about a year after his discharge from the military last summer.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. In the U.S., the Supreme Court began hearing arguments concerning President Donald Trump's executive order aimed at ending birthright citizenship for children born in the United States to undocumented or temporary immigrant parents. On Thursday, the U.S. Supreme Court started a session on the executive order President Trump signed in January. Trump's order seeks to reinterpret the 14th Amendment's citizenship clause and would deny automatic citizenship to children born on U.S. soil unless at least one parent is a U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. The directive faced legal challenges from 22 states and civil rights groups, with several federal judges issuing nationwide injunctions to stop its enforcement. The case taken by the Supreme Court centers on whether lower courts have the authority to issue such injunctions. During the session, justices' opinions were divided, with arguments saying that allowing the injunctions may overextend judicial authority, whereas limiting the injunctions could lead to an inconsistency of laws across states. Meanwhile, protests occurred outside the courthouse, where demonstrators voiced support for birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court's decision is expected by the end of June. In Europe, the United Kingdom and Germany have announced a collaborative effort to boost Europe's self-defense by developing a new long-range precision strike weapon. On Thursday local time, British Defense Secretary John Healey and his German counterpart Boris Pistorius met in Berlin to sign an agreement for the joint development of a deep precision strike missile system. The weapon is designed to have a range exceeding 2,000 kilometers. The plan comes under the Trinity House Agreement on bilateral defense cooperation signed in October 2024. It aims to reduce Europe's reliance on external defense support and address security situations such as the ongoing war in Ukraine. Joint procurement programs to counter undersea threats have also been agreed upon. Minister Healey stated that both nations are dedicated to making progress, not just making promises. In Brazil, a dye spill accident occurred on Tuesday in Sao Paulo's Jardim das Tulipas neighborhood, approximately 75 kilometers from the central city. According to authorities, some 5,000 liters of chemical dye spilled after a transport truck crashed, contaminating local streets and entering a nearby creek through a manhole. The blue dye changed the colors of the waters and ducks in the area, and some fish were found dead in a lake. Cleanup operations began immediately. However, investigations have begun to assess the environmental impact of the incident. The new pope is expected to move into the official papal residence, an apartment on the top floor of the Apostolic Palace, according to an Italian media report on Thursday. Pope Leo XIV, the first American-born pontiff, had reopened the traditional papal apartments on May 11th, which had been sealed following the late Pope Francis' death. Pope Leo's decision is a departure from his predecessor's choice to live in the Casa Santa Marta guest house and a return to long-standing papal customs. The Apostolic Palace apartments, unused since 2013, have nearly a dozen rooms, including a study, library, and private chapel. 최지희, Arirang News.
The skies are cloudy across the country today, and it has been raining everywhere. In particular, heavy rain of 20 to 30 millimeters per hour is pouring until tonight on the south coast and Jeju Island. In addition, from this evening, rain will begin in central parts of the country, including Seoul, but most of it will stop overnight. A little bit more rain is expected in northern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and Gangwon-do province. The heat seems to have subsided due to the rain. After the rain stops, the temperatures will start to rise. The daytime temperature will move back to 24 degrees Celsius tomorrow, over 25 degrees in some areas, feeling like early summer again. Tomorrow morning will start mild with 15 to 18 degrees all over the country. Daily highs will move up to 28 degrees in Chuncheon, Daegu, and Gyeongju. More rain is forecast on Monday. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Our panel session with members of the foreign media is coming up next.